today, tonight, you're hearing music that has ever been performed before, that has been in the heads and hearts of these wonderful kids, and for sure it's going to be in the heads, ears, and hearts of you. Oh, yeah, well, I have a suggestion for you. So this is to write it like this because what do you want? Tam pam, pam pam pam, pam pam pam. This is better for the eye. I know the computer maybe does what they do, but this is yam pam pam pam.
Well, I've gone through this program for 5 years, and I would say that for the most part, the biggest thing that I've noticed is that it has grown me in my understanding of the instruments. It's allowed me just to experiment with the different ideas that I've had and see what works and what doesn't, and to develop my own style as a composer. And that's been really beneficial. I think it really just jump-started me to compose, and compose a lot, and helped me to really, really enjoy it. On measure, 2 measures before C, the strings have those half notes to the whole note. Could those be a little bit more connected?
You want a space between that, or tam pam ta off? Bum. There's an open conversation into the reading because after we play the piece for the first time, the kids get the chance to comment on what they heard for the first time because they never heard the piece before, and then we play it again with all those adjustments. Yeah, let's play that particular bar 21 piano. Piano for the strings, forte for flutes.
The Tucson Symphony Orchestra's Young Composers Program is a series of classes where students get to learn how to write orchestral music and write for a string quintet, for a full symphony orchestra.
She learned that she absolutely loved writing music. It opened up her eyes to so much creativity that she had that she didn't know she had.
The night of the reading is always very exciting. It's probably the most exciting part of my spring. That's what I look forward to the most, and I get very excited for it because it's a lot of fun. It's the culmination of so much work, and you get to hear your own piece played live and everyone else's piece. And it's just such an atmosphere of excitement, and it's just so much fun.
So, what instrument was featured in the opening? The bassoon, right. How does this fit into, what was the composer thinking when he used this as the opening of the piece?
Isn't he talking about like the beginnings of like spring and like the earth is awakening?
What does the composer strive to do, and what sort of techniques does he use to create these feelings?
And there's a lot of moments where the two instruments will be playing, and one will sort of be on almost like a different plane as the other one. Its rhythms will kind of move indifferent of the other one.
There is a lot of talent around, and it's up to us as arts institution to give an opportunity to those people to have a voice and to have a chance of communicating their ideas through compositions. Somehow we take for granted the fact that we have composers, from the old times like Mozart and Beethoven, but they were kids too, and somebody gave them an opportunity.
There's a lot of things that you might not think of when you're listening to music, like how does a certain chord affect you emotionally, but there are like little subtle effects that you don't learn unless someone experiences talking to you about.
The goal of the program, while many students do go on to become professional composers, is to really give students the tools to become culturally literate citizens of the arts and of the world.
It's really interesting to hear all of the influence of these players putting into, because it's the music that I wrote, but they're the performers, and it really makes a difference. They bring their take on your music to the table. It's just something magical where like your thoughts and feelings are being filtered through them, and they're just so technically proficient that they play it so beautifully, but then also like the emotional impact. Like when you're listening to music on headphones, you can hear it, but when you're seeing it live, you can feel it. And I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity. It was fantastic, it was life-changing, so I'm glad I did.
The Tucson Symphony Orchestra Young Composers Project, being a year-long program, it gives all these kids, in different levels, it's the technical training of how to start being a composer. Imagine that you have all these wonderful ideas in your head, but you don't know how to translate them into a piece of paper, and therefore, to be read by musicians and be performed. So we give all these tools through instructors and tutors, but also through the musicians of the orchestra that comes in different ensembles, and teach them, the technicalities of the different instruments of the orchestra, coming from woodwinds, brass, strings, and percussion.
Yeah, I love that this part is in octaves, because having the lower octave really boosts up the higher one. And a lot of times you can feel really exposed up there, as you know. Yeah, let's see. I love the interchange of what you're doing here with the horns and the trombones.
Don't you think I should put maybe, I don't know, like a snare drum or something to be mimicking that triplet figure?
That's
so
a
that way
great
they don't
idea.
get, that way it's easier to fit with it. I'm really thankful, and I'm really, I'll never take this experience for granted, because it's just, they're such great musicians and very kind musicians that help you when they come in, and they're not afraid to help you out if you have any questions. And I don't think they're afraid to hold back either. That's something that is so helpful. I enjoy it so much. I think half of it is because of Alona and the musicians and Jose Luis. And I think that it really is one of a kind because I think this experience cannot be replicated. You can't replicate it with a computer program because these are actual people and they care a lot, and I feel that without their input, without that human input and that help to us students who are trying to figure out and trying to grow as composers, it wouldn't be the same.
So if the grace notes are on the beat, you know, like a, or before the beat, right? And people don't typically specify like in writing what they want, but you can. We talk about different ways to write for the brass, so we'll talk about the ranges of the instruments and certain techniques that are fun to use. I would have given anything to have a program like this growing up, anything. It is so awesome. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else in the country. Had I been able to start with that in high school, I may have double majored in composition, but I certainly would have grown quicker in certain ways artistically if I had had a program like that.
There's notes? Oh no, it's this part where it's like. It goes like ba da ba, and that was with the horns, and I felt like that added onto it. I felt like it made it.
The Tucson Symphony Orchestra has designed a cohesive series of education programs where we get to work with students not only just in the concert halls but also directly in schools, which is so important as national and local arts funding gets cut in schools. Many of them don't actually have a dedicated music teacher. We have, in some districts, music teachers have as many as 5 to 7 schools each that they visit from month to month. And we want to be able to be providing that direct interaction. So we go into the schools, into the classrooms, and have musicians work and impact the students directly.
And then it was great to finally play one of his pieces, and to hear his piece with the full orchestra was a really great experience, and nice to see him out there.
This program has a huge impact for kids, not only as composers, but also as musicians and moreover as human beings, because it makes you, appreciate this wonderful art, which is music. Also, our program, it's all inclusive. There is no difference between people. We have, kids from different social stratus, and this is wonderful because, it's giving opportunity to kids that maybe they couldn't imagine ever to do something like that because of their social situation and economic situation. We have scholarships funded for that, to bring the opportunity also for those kids, not only to enjoy music, but also to experience the fact of creating music.
The Young Composers Project touches my heart. It is something that you don't see everywhere else. It's a chance for ordinary children to have an extraordinary experience, and they shine. Every single one of those kids shine. They have to do the work. They have to commit themselves. They have to be disciplined. They're going to school, they're doing homework, they're doing other activities, but they have to commit to this program.
Music is such a big part of our lives, and I think it should be a part of everyone's life. So we just feel it's another way of exposing people to music and getting them involved with the Tucson Symphony Orchestra.
wanted to show you this manuscript. It's been dated about 1150, so it's really very early. This style of creating music, first of all, there are only 4 ledger lines, and as you know, do is centered, but pitched during this period. I like to compare writing music to a painting. You're going to have to think about the shape and what the impact is going to have, and also what you're trying to express. I believe that everyone is able to write a piece of music. And no matter what your skill level is, or if you play an instrument, or you have good pitch, or whatever, I don't think that matters, because music is a universal language. And I mean, I think one thing that's so impressive about Mozart's music is if you just look at it as a piece of art, you know, and you hold this up and you look at the shape. So here, you can see this is extremely expressive section. It is a method of expression that we can communicate with everyone.
Who get together and learn about composing, learn about every instrument known to man pretty much, and talk about music. At the end of the year, we have our major piece played in front of a large audience. This class has really changed who I am. Before I started it, I really couldn't compose. I've gotten to be able to work with musicians live and actually hear and practically feel the difference between their instruments and mine. Before I started, I really didn't have as much of a career idea for myself. I debated a few things, but now I know that I definitely do want to go into music. My first year in the program, I learned pretty much everything. By the end of that year, I had learned a great deal of music theory. I'd been able to compose a piece for violin and piano, but by the end of the year, I had learned enough theory and technique and composition to compose for a full-string quintet.
There were just a few comments for dynamics.
What do you want, the dynamic?
About mezzo piano.
Mezzo piano? Okay.
A little faster at E.
E. Okay. Good. Anything else?
A little slower at 85.
Let's see. Okay, let's play it again. The first sequence of viola. Let's do accents in all the 16 notes. So, yam, taka ta ta taka ta ta taka ta in the first group of the 16 notes. Accent. Dam, taka 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 ta. Taka, 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 taka. And you from the second group.
I was sort of in awe at how much of a difference there was with the orchestra playing it. They really put a lot of emotion and power into it. The conductor always pours himself into what he does, and it really just adds a whole layer of texture to the piece.
The youth is the future of the symphony. What we're doing is important. What we could do is even greater. And we just need people committed to hearing good music and realizing that the youth are the essential part of that growth.
Symphony orchestras all over the world have a very clear mission of presenting to their audience, you know, the great works of masters and connecting, you know, people through music. There's many ways to do things through the communities, through connecting, you know, with the city's heritage, is connecting with the city's identity, but moreover is connecting with the future of us, you know, which starts from the kids. And music has that power. Music has the power to transform lives and to create. It's one of the fundamental parts of our mission to do that.
I realized that like this is something I made. This is me. This is what I did. This is what I'm capable of, and it just happened in front of me. It was life-changing.
This is their creation, you know, it's part of themselves, and they're so generous that they're sharing it with the rest of the world, with us, you know, with the audience.
I cry because to see my daughter putting her whole heart and soul into it and to create something that I think is so beautiful is really wonderful.
Our young composers are at the forefront of change. They are leaders in it. They are our future. And they are able to communicate these ideas to us through music. This program is a tool, an incredible tool for students to be able to do this.